Just to get things going here. So my name is Alex Held. I'm part of the Biz Launch team here at Arlington Economic Development, and we are so excited to partner with the Arlington Community Federal Credit Union, and specifically Kevin, on today's programming on business planning, and what lenders are looking for from a business plan perspective. So we've got a really great program today. This is actually going to be a two-part series, where we are going to discuss the Lean Business Camp model Canvas today, and then we are going to come back and talk about the finances. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our business plan expert and financing expert, Mr. Kevin Sheffield with the Arlington Community Federal Credit Union.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Kevin Sheffield. I'm the Business Lending Manager with Arlington Community Federal Credit Union. So just a little bit about the credit union for those of you who might not be familiar. We are dedicated to helping small businesses thrive and by providing a comprehensive range of services. So whether you're looking to open up a deposit account, secure a business loan, or just gain financial education, we're really here to support you every step of the way. So our goal is to empower local entrepreneurs and business owners such as yourselves with the tools and resources you need to succeed in today's competitive market. So we are here to discuss the crucial elements of creating a compelling business plan that can help new businesses secure financing from lenders. So our agenda today is really going to, yeah, perfect. Okay. So it's really going to revolve around understanding what it is that lenders need to see in a business plan and how to craft one that meets these expectations. So to guide our discussion, we're going to be using something called the Lean Canvas template as our foundational framework. And for those of you who might not be familiar with it, the Lean Canvas is a one-page business plan that helps startups focus on the essential elements of the business idea. Its simplicity and wide adoption really make it a very good tool for a starting point for the basic principles of what's needed to be in a business plan. However, while it's an important starting point, it's often not sufficient on its own to secure financing. Lenders will often want to see a little bit more comprehensive and detailed plan that addresses specific financial and operational aspects of your business. So with that in mind, our goal here today is not really to delve into the Lean Canvas template itself per se, but rather how to show you how to expand and develop on it in order to develop a thorough business plan that resonates with lenders. So we're going to discuss how to take each element of the canvas and expand it, right? And so by the end of the session, you're going to have a clear understanding of how to craft a business plan that is not only clear and concise, but also comprehensive enough to secure financing to grow your business. Now, it's important to point out the Lean Canvas is just one template, one format to use, but you can and should modify it to suit the specific needs and nature of your business, right? So the key is to ensure that all the elements are present, regardless of the structure you choose. All right. So the flexibility allows you to tailor your plan and highlight the unique aspects of your business and present the information the most effective way possible. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started with breaking down each element of the Lean Canvas. So first, the Lean Canvas breaks it down into a business plan down into these 9 basic principles: the problem, customer segments, unique value proposition, solution, channels, revenue stream, cost structure, key metrics, and unfair advantage. And we're going to go through each of these in turn. And feel free while we're doing this, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. We can have this very conversational. So let's start with the first one, the problem. So many successful businesses start by clearly identifying the problem because it sets the foundation for everything else, right? So a well-defined problem demonstrates that you have a deep understanding of the market and the specific challenges your target customers face. And this is critical because if there's no significant problem to solve, there really is no need for that product or service, right? And so when we say the problem, we're talking about describing the top 1 to 3 problems your customers face. And we really want to focus on the high level problems rather than the specific solutions yet. That'll come a little bit later. And so the reason why a lot of businesses start with the problem is just because it establishes the context of the business. It shows that you've done your homework and you have identified a genuine need in the market. And for lenders, this is absolutely critical because we want to see a clear and compelling reason for your business to exist, right? And so a well articulated problem statement indicates you have identified a gap or pain point in the market and that your business is uniquely positioned to address this. So, what lenders look for specifically are really two main things. We want to see evidence of market research or customer feedback that validates the problems. And when I say research, let me be specific. There is primary research and then there is secondary research. So primary research involves gathering new firsthand data directly from sources. This can include conducting surveys, interviews, or observations to collect specific information relevant to your business. For example, you can ask potential customers about their preferences on their purchasing patterns or what they look for in new products through a survey, or it can be something as simple as a social media poll, right? Secondary research, on the other hand, involves using existing data that's already been collected by others. This can include industry reports, market statistics, demographic data from sources like trade journals, government publications, online databases. Libraries are a great source to go to. And I know that Alex and AED, they have a lot of great resources there in particular for secondary research. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first. So for the second one, we also want to see that you understand we want to see that there's an understanding of customer problems that demonstrate market need and potential demand. Specifically, we want to see relevance and urgency and a connection to your solution. So the problem should be relevant and urgent enough that customers are actively seeking solutions. The more pressing the problem, more likely it is that customers will be willing to pay for a solution. And there must be a clear and logical connection between the problem and your solution. And so essentially the product or service needs to directly address the identified problem in a meaningful way. And so what does this actually look like? And I find that a lot of times what we're going to do is use a case study to illustrate each component, and it's going to help kind of ground these concepts and make them a little bit more tangible and relatable, showing you how they can be applied to a business. So we're going to use a hypothetical business called EcoBrew. So EcoBrew is a startup founded by Emma, a recent college graduate, and they focus on making sustainable coffee products for basically for the market. And Emma works part-time in a local cafe. And while working part-time at this cafe, she noticed that a lot of her customers, particularly urban millennials, were increasingly concerned about the environmental impact of single-use coffee pods. And she heard a lot of complaints about this pain point and the lack of a market solution for more recyclable or compostable options. So then, with limited funds, recent college graduate, right? There are a lot of different ways Emma, conducted her own research. She did primary research by talking to customers using Google Forms, shared on social media and within her network. She just get a sense of coffee consumption habits. She also did secondary research through industry reports, trade journals, and connecting with the local chamber of commerce and trade associations that provide industry-specific insights on consumer preferences and market trends. And we're going to be making this presentation available afterwards, so don't worry if you don't catch every single word on the presentation. So from that research, she was able to gather compelling evidence that there is a significant problem for environmentally friendly coffee pods. And she was able to come up with a clear, concise problem statement. So urban millennials aged 25 to 35 are increasingly concerned about the environmental impact of their purchasing decisions. However, most single-use coffee pods on the market are made from non-recyclable materials, contributing to environmental waste and making it difficult for these consumers to enjoy convenient coffee without compromising their values. Now, this concise statement, she has told the lender really so much information. First, she has shown that there's market demand for sustainable products, right? There's a clear and growing demand among these urban millennials for this product. There are consumer values and preferences, right? It prioritizes the environmental sustainability, which suggests strong potential for customer loyalty and advocacy for a product that aligns with these values. She identified a market gap and opportunity, right? There's alignment with the current trends. Addressing the environmental concerns aligns with broader market trends towards sustainability and eco-conscious consumption, enhancing the attractiveness of her business model. She also has the potential for brand differentiation. The focus on sustainability specifically provides a clear differentiator for EcoBrew, positioning it favorably against competitors who do not offer environmentally friendly alternatives. And so we can really see how that problem statement built a solid foundation that we can now build on. So we'll go to the second portion of it, customer segments. So with customer segments, we really want you to identify your target customers. Be specific about their demographics, their size, their behaviors, and your needs. Because a lot of businesses, they say, everyone's our customer, we're going to market to everyone. But really, you want a focused, you really want a focused approach to make sure that you are targeting the right customers in the most effective way possible. And so then what lenders look for in this are really three things: a well-defined target market with clear demographics and needs. We want to see the market size and the potential growth, and we want to see the underlying data supporting that. And we also want to see a thorough understanding, that you have a thorough understanding of who your customers are, right? And so building on that example, let's look at what this case study's target, the customer segment consists of. First, we have urban millennials aged 25 to 35, consisting of approximately 75 million people who prioritize convenience and sustainability. So right here, we have the demographic breakdown. The urban millennials, typically college educated with disposable income. So they can, they have more purchasing power, right? We have behaviors. They prefer brands that align with their values, such as sustainability and social responsibility. They typically do tend to be tech savvy and use digital platforms to make purchasing decisions. They need products that are convenient, affordable, and environmentally friendly. And market research indicates that urban millennials are a rapidly growing segment with sustainable products, product markets expected to reach 150 billion by 2025. So then what this tells the lender are really four key things. We have a well-defined target market, right? And it increases the likelihood of successful customer acquisition and retention because we have that well-defined target market. We have an alignment with the core values of that target market, right? We have the fact that target market is also growing, which again leads into long-term viability, right? Because it really speaks to the potential scalability of EcoBrew's business. If the market segment is growing, then this product can grow with it. And so it tells the lender right there, okay, this is not only is there a problem, but there's a viable market out there or consumers demanding a solution for this problem. That takes us into
the next Kevin, thing. Before you move on, I wanted to ask a question on the customer segment, and that 75 million market size number. Is that number can be used in the future to build a financial projection as we move into part 2 of this program?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really important to quantify that target market because you end up using that later as you go through this process.
Yeah, and that's such a great point. As we will go through in part 2, when you do your financial projections, they have to be based on reasonable assumptions. Having the quantifiable size of your market is a critical component of that. So yeah, that's absolutely. So you always want to make sure in your business plan you quantify the number within that demographic group because it shows the market potential. Yeah, great point. So we talked about the problem. We talked about the customer segments. Now we go to the unique value proposition. Why should those customers choose you over the competition, right? And really, you want to find the unique benefit that sets your product or service apart from the competition. And it's just succinctly communicate the distinct benefits of your product and service. Essentially, it needs to answer the question, why should customers choose you over the competitors? And it should highlight the key features and benefits of your product, demonstrate how these benefits address the problems identified earlier, and then ensure that the value proposition statement aligns with the needs and desires of your target customer segments. So then for a lender, when you are coming up with your unique value proposition, what is it we look for? Well, three things specifically. We're looking for a compelling reason why customers would choose your product over competitors. We're looking for evidence or examples of how your value proposition has resonated with potential customers or early adopters. And we want to see that there is a demonstration of a clear advantage in the market that will drive customer acquisition and retention, right? So going to the example of our case study with EcoBrew, I won't read this word for word, but we can see here how they are set apart basically because they focus on the environmental friendly impact of the alternative of the single-use coffee pods, which are non-recyclable and which are recyclable and help eliminate environmental waste. And so given that there was a lack of competition on the market for this, that is a way that they can differentiate themselves by pointing that out, right? And they go further. The target market values the high sustainability and is willing to pay a premium for that value, right? And so 75% of this demographic, they had these same values even at the higher price point. And so she also shows how the positive feedback not only validates the value proposition, but highlights a strong market demand for sustainable coffee solutions. Again, showing the viability and the scalability of their business because of that unique value proposition. And so when I see a value, so if I get a business plan from a business looking for funding and I see a value proposition like this, it tells me three things: that they are providing me with a compelling reason for why their product exists over competitors in the market. I'm seeing evidence of market validation, the high satisfaction rate among early adopters, and the willingness of the target market to pay a premium for this, right? That's strong evidence of market validation. I'm also seeing a clear advantage, specifically by offering this. It meets the dual demands of sustainability and convenience, thereby demonstrating a clear advantage in the market, which again drives customer acquisition, retention, and growth. So now that we have the value proposition, let's talk about the solution, because ultimately you have to deliver on what you are telling these customers, right? So when I say solution, really you want to outline the solution to your customer's problems, describe the core features and functionality of your product or service. So for lenders, what we look for in this is really understanding how your product solves a problem. We want to see, essentially just that. We want to see how it solves that identified problem for your customers. And we want to see evidence of its viability, and that can include any prototypes, demonstrations, customer testimonials, or early sales that validate your solution. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be, again, just customer feedback. A lot of times that can be incredibly helpful. Social media buzz, that can also be helpful as well, because it shows essentially the room for growth in your product. And then a clear and compelling description. It should clearly and compellingly be described to show its effectiveness and its uniqueness. So in the case of EcoBrew, so the solution statement that kind of encapsulate that would be along the lines of: they address the environmental impact of single-use coffee pods by offering a fully compostable alternative made from plant-based materials. It provides the same convenience as traditional single-use coffee pods, but is designed to break down naturally in composting conditions, significantly reducing environmental waste. So it makes it an ideal choice for these customer segments, right? So they show that this has been validated through their beta testing of early adopters who have given overwhelmingly positive feedback on their product, right? And this has led to a 50% conversion rate, showing the viability in the market. And so they have also differentiated themselves in that customers have praised the taste and convenience of the coffee, as well as praising its core benefits, right? So right there, that tells the lender so much information. It tells them that you have an understanding of how your product solves the problem. In this case, it directly addresses the problem of non-recyclable waste, providing a sustainable solution that aligns with the values of the target market, right? There's evidence of viability, positive feedback among the early adopters, as well as a 50% conversion rate. There is a clear and compelling description. So it's very clear what it does and why it does it. And so it communicates that uniqueness and effectiveness. I want to pause a moment because we've gone through a few different ones. Let me just look at the chat to see if there's any questions. It doesn't look like there's any questions yet. Okay.
Yeah, I
If
don't think we
anybody,
have any questions. Yeah, but if someone has something that they want to, please feel free to raise your
yeah, absolutely.
hand or put it in the chat as we move along. It's a lot of information, so unless you all are experts at business planning, which I wouldn't even call myself an expert either, so I think we're always learning. All right.
Okay, great. Well, if anyone has any questions, just put it in the chat along the way, and then Alex, just stop me if you see any or if you want to jump in. Okay. Um, the fifth portion of the business plan is channels. So really for this, we want you to list the channels you will use to reach and acquire customers. This could include online and offline channels such as social media, advertising, or direct sales. And here, what we're really looking for, but when I say we and lenders, what we're really looking for is one, we want to see your distribution strategy. We want to see how you plan to reach your target customers, right? How are you going to get it to them? We want to see that distribution strategy is cost effective and scalable, right? Because we want to make sure that this is a reliable way for you to acquire these customers and generate the revenue that's going to be needed to pay back the loan that you're applying for. We also want to see if there are any partnerships and agreements that can enhance your reach and credibility and viability, because it's just another mechanism by which to reach your customers. So with EcoBrew, what this could look like, again, this is just a few examples of what it could look like. E-commerce. A lot of businesses, they are direct to consumer. That is their channel. That's the most cost effective and scalable model. And that is what we're going to see most often. So essentially, they'll have a dedicated website or themselves, or they'll sell through Amazon, Etsy, or some other online marketplace. And that allows them to basically just make the experience consistent and make their cost structure just very predictable. Some businesses will want to do a website of their own to customize the experience a little bit more. Typically, we see new businesses, they will first start off on some of the free online marketplaces, because it's just a little bit cheaper and it's easier. Then as they scale, they'll start doing their own online website. Either is fine for us, so long as you clearly articulate it and show us that you had a strategy in the first place. Social media targeting, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, just where you can really engage with your customers, right? And again, online marketplaces, I started with that, Amazon and Etsy. There are a lot of businesses that I have met who they have a great product or service, but they just don't market it. They assume that the business will come to them, that if one person hears about it, it's just going to spread on its own. You do have to reach your solution might be the best in the world, but if people don't know about it, if we don't put it through the proper channels, then the customers, they won't know, right? So you really have to make sure that you engage in these different mechanisms to reach that target audience. So
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the misnomers, Kevin, is that a lot of businesses, and I've worked with a lot of businesses that have started and they think, oh, I'm going to put my little sign up on the
yeah,
store and I'm going to have it open and all these people are going to come into my door. That's not
right,
quite how that works. You really have to be deliberate in your
right.
marketing strategy and how you reach them. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a great point. And it doesn't have to be anything. You can create a plan for yourself, and you can make it incremental as long as you're consistent with it and you maintain it. That's really the key. We went through some of these earlier, the retail partnerships, content marketing. Perfect. So once we have the channels that we go through to reach the customers, next we go to the revenue streams. And this is really the big one for lenders, because ultimately you're applying for financing. And for a lender looking at it through a lens of risk mitigation, we want to make sure that the business is viable enough to produce the income that's going to be necessary to repay the loan, right? So you need to describe how the business will make money. And this can include multiple revenue streams, one-time sales, subscription fees, or advertising revenue. And so really what we're looking for here is, one, we want to see that you have a clear revenue model. meaning we want to see that you just clearly demonstrate how your business is going to make money in a realistic way, which segues to the next point: realistic and achievable projections. Realistic and achievable are the operative words there. And so it should be based on sound market research and pricing strategies, right? So you can't underprice your competition so much that basically you can't cover your own costs. That might lead to a short-term surge in sales, but you'll eventually put yourself out of business. And so you need to show your pricing strategies are well considered and made within the context of your overall cost structure, which we'll get into the next section here. Second, having multiple revenue, or third rather, having multiple revenue streams can often reduce risk and ensure a more stable income. And I'll point out that it will especially help for lenders if the business owner has a separate revenue stream, such as a full-time or part-time job, to provide additional financial stability. Some business owners, they are part-time business owners. Some are full-time, depending on if it's a startup business and they've been doing it for a while. Having those extra streams of income it de-risks it for the lender, because in the event of unanticipated interruptions to cash flow, there are other sources of financing.
And Kevin, we had a great question in the chat from Teresa, and Teresa, we may have to take you off mute to ask it, but if we need more context. But their question is, do lenders look for a certain level or history of revenue when considering a loan?
Great question. That is fantastic. That's a fantastic question. The answer is yes. So, well, let me address in two parts. First, if you are a business that's been around for a few years, yes, absolutely. We're going to look at the historic performance of the business because we want to see a track record. Now, all businesses struggle at a certain point. It's an inevitability. So say you've been around for a while and you've had a lull in sales. That in and of itself, or a lull in operations, right? That in and of itself isn't disqualifying. Because what we want to see is that you're able to adapt and you're able to adjust and you're able to learn. And so if you have a track record, but let's say it's not spotless, do not let that deter you, because so long as you learn and grow, that's really what we're looking for. Now, say you're a new business and you don't have a track record. Okay, that is okay. But then what you really need to do is show through your financial projections that I have done solid market research and my projections are realistic and they're achievable. And as a backup, I also have additional revenue streams. Typically, it will be through employment, either full-time or part-time, or another source of revenue, in order to, a lot of businesses, they take a little while to start actually generating income. And so having that additional revenue source would be hugely beneficial for the application. Great question. So then, just as an example of some of the revenue streams that a business may or may not have, direct sales, we talked about that a lot. Most businesses, that is where their bread and butter is going to be. Online marketplaces, e-commerce websites, Amazon Websy, they provide a broad exposure and easy access. They can generate, that's where for most businesses, it's probably where 90 to 95% is going to come from. They can also have subscription services if that's the type of business model that they have. Not all businesses are formatted to have subscription type programs, but that is good because it is a guaranteed source of regular income for businesses. You can also have retail partnerships. So if you are selling something in stores, sometimes the contract will entail a certain level of business for you. That's also a great source of a revenue stream. Mixing and matching as much as you can will be, again, hugely beneficial for you.
Yeah. And Kevin, we had another question before you go
please,
on. I didn't want you to go too far before, because it related to your previous slide before the revenue stream. But David asked, do lenders consider your 401k and other financial assets, especially if you are over the age when you can have direct access to these resources? I'm thinking that goes back to your, when you don't have your business is a startup and you haven't been making any money yet in the business.
That's a fantastic question. And yes, and you are thinking ahead, and I love it. So yes, we are absolutely going to look at your assets and your liabilities. And really what you're talking about is access to additional capital in the form of liquidity. That is huge for business. And it's huge for lenders when we see that. Because what that says is that you have a safety net. And so let's say you have additional assets that you like can the more liquid the asset, the better. So if you have access to additional liquid assets, that is a huge de-risker for business. Because what it tells us is that, again, you have that backup in the case of unanticipated interruptions in your business cash flow. That can be an equity injection from the owner. And we're actually going to cover that in the cost structure. So yeah, I love that you're thinking ahead. Yeah, so you can do bulk orders, additional revenue stream. In this instance, our hypothetical entrepreneur has a additional salary from a part-time job. So just different ways that you can generate income. And so we can see from these examples that it tells the lender that you have a clear revenue model, your projections are realistic and achievable, diverse revenue sources, and you have that additional income. So all of these serve to de-risk your business in a very substantial way. So the next one, cost structure. So we want to outline the costs associated with running your business, right? This can include product development, marketing, operational costs, right? Whatever their nature. The cost structure will be different depending on the nature of your business, but in general, they will include these broad categories. And so from the lender's perspective, what we want to see is a clear breakdown of your costs and essentially understanding of startup expenses and ongoing operational costs and expansion. Rent, utilities, insurance, vehicle costs, fuel, the cost the cost you have to incur to make your products or to deliver your service to your customer. We want to see that you have a clear understanding of that so that you know how much you need to charge and how many you need to sell in order to generate revenue above your costs, hence generate a profit, hence, be able to reliably pay back the loan. So we want to see evidence of effective cost management strategies to improve profitability. Someone asked a question about a track record of a business. Something that we love to see, let's say if we notice a business has struggled in the past and has had a very down year, something for us that is a game changer that we love to see and we like to lend to these type of businesses is if in later years we see that they kind of manage costs better. Because what that tells us is that they learned, that they saw, that they looked at their business, they looked at the market, and they were able to adjust. And they're able to say, okay, the market's telling me something. Let's see how I can adapt to it. And then they came out the other end. We love those type of businesses. And so if you had struggles in your business, don't let that deter you. So long as you learn from it, that is something that we'd love to see. We also look at the creditworthiness of the owner. Now, this is something that sometimes gets lost because it's a business loan, right? So why do we need to look at a person's credit? And why do we need that personal guarantee? Well, this goes back into de-risking the business, right? Because we want to see the financial management of the person, of the owner running the business. And we want to make sure that they have the wherewithal to be able to manage globally their finances, right? And so that includes their personal finances. That includes the business as well. It is not in and of itself a determinant factor, but it is taken into consideration. The last thing that we look at in this context is the availability of collateral. Most lenders will want some form of tangible collateral, and that could be real estate, it could be equipment, it could be accounts receivable, something of that nature. Basically, it is just a mechanism to ensure it's a secondary form of repayment to de-risk the venture, right? And it's just another way that the lender feels like their funds are safeguarded. So that it can very often be an effective way to secure financing, having the availability of collateral. If you don't have collateral, that is not necessarily a prohibitive factor. There are products, we do have loan products where they don't require collateral, the loan amount itself might be a little bit less, but we will still absolutely look at it and give it fair consideration. We look at the totality of all the factors, and the collateral is just one of those. So, as an example, and these are just, this of course will differ depending on the type of business, but these are just examples of some of the things that startups of what the cost structure could entail. So with respect to startup expenses, it can entail product development, marketing, inventory, and your initial startup costs. These numbers will be different for every type of businesses, but just as an example. For the operational costs, we want to see the production costs, the marketing and ad strategies, then advertising strategies. We want to see because marketing, of course, it's not just a one-time thing, it's an ongoing thing, right? You do your initial marketing blitz, but then you have to maintain it, as we talked about, right? And employee salaries, if there are any. A lot of businesses, they start off as sole proprietorships. So, and then as you grow and scale, that's where that becomes a factor. Or a lot of businesses, they use contractors as a more cost-effective option. So we see, just different types of ongoing expenses, office rent and utility. We're going to look at the owner's financial history, the credit history, alternative sources of income, assets and liabilities, availability of collateral, and liquidity. Somebody asked about if you have a 401k or other assets that they can access. This is where this comes into play. This is huge right here. So having access to that. Now, again, in terms of the credit history, I want to emphasize that in and of itself is not a determinant factor. So that if you don't have perfect credit, a lot of people, a lot of business owners were incredibly adversely affected by COVID, and just the bottom fell out for a lot of people. We get that, we understand that. And so don't let that be a discouragement for applying. We're going to look at everything, and we're going to, listen to the whole story. Okay. So that's important to keep in mind.
And Kevin, before you move on this, one of the things that I run into a lot, and I'm curious of your thoughts on this question, is we have a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes that come to us. They're very debt financing averse. Sometimes that's cultural. Sometimes that comes from a lot of different reasons. But a lot of times they have saved up a really sometimes significant a source of money in liquid assets, and they want to start a business, and they don't seek any capital to help fuel that business. They just use what they've saved. And what happens is that they burn through to start the business, their startup costs, and they burn through all that capital, and they no longer have any money to fuel the business to keep it growing.
Yep.
I always have told people, seek capital when you don't need it, because when you need
Absolutely.
it, you typically are not going to get it. Is that advice still valid in today's economy?
It absolutely is. And that's a great point. In fact, we have a lot of businesses that would apply for a business credit card in emergencies, right? Because the issue is, like Alex said, once you have it, or once you need it, a lot of times, or once you realize that you absolutely need it, a lot of times the business might be in a position where they might not qualify for it anymore. And so if they already burned through all that capital, and the lender looks and says, okay, what do you have in terms of your capital reserves, in terms of like liquidity, what's going on with the business? They're going to see it on the decline, and that's going to do hurt a little bit more. Now, it's always commendable, and it's always helpful for the owner to contribute some of their own capital, but it is always advisable to keep that reserve. And in your business plan, say that to the lender. That is actually a great point to say to the lenders. I could contribute more to this. However, as a precaution, I want to keep this capital reserve for the business in the event that some of my assumptions don't pan out and I need to make adjustments. It tells them that you are thinking in a realistic mindset, and that you're adaptable, that you're willing to look at the bigger picture and, change as necessary. It shows a level of prudence and forethought that will absolutely give your application a second look. Absolutely. It's a great point, Alex. And I know this is a lot of information to cover, so thanks, guys. We are almost at the finish line. So in terms of the cost structure, we can see how the way that it was positioned, and I'll give you, I should have mentioned this earlier. We all of these statements here, I have the comprehensive business plan from this, which I'll provide at the end of the presentation for everyone's reference. So from that, we can see that the owner has a strong financial health. The cost management and efficiency of their cost structure shows that basically it can improve profitability in the long term, and is a very clear, transparent breakdown of their costs. So again, very responsible stewardship of our finances. If I'm the lender, that's what I'm going to think about this person. And again, so we have the collateral. We have the we talked about this a little bit earlier. Yeah. So the collateral, again, just serves as that safety net, that second source of repayments for the lender that just makes them feel a little bit more at ease, putting their funds at risk. So key metrics, and we're going to dive more into this in part 2 on how to make financial projections and financial modeling, but we'll do a high-level overview of it here. So we want to see that you want to identify the key metrics used to track the success of your business, and really focus on the most critical metrics for every business, and be aware of additional metrics that lenders will calculate. Businesses might track different metrics depending on the nature of what they're doing, but there are some that every business will track, right? And so these are relevant key performance indicators. And so we want to see that you have identified these that are most relevant to your business model and growth potential. We want to see that you are tracking and analyzing this plan to make informed decisions. And we want to see that you're regularly monitoring these metrics to ensure business growth and operational efficiency. So there are some key metrics that every business should track, and every business should have in their business plan. That is your revenue growth rate, which you project it to be, basically the rate at which a company's revenue is increasing over time. And it just indicates the business expansion and market acceptance. And it's simply just your gross profit margin, which is just revenue minus cost of goods sold over revenue times 100%. And I'll provide a worksheet for this as well. We have your gross profit margin, which looks at the efficiency of production and your pricing strategy, right? And so essentially, you just look at your net profit change over time. Okay. I'm sorry, you look at your gross profit change over time. The net profit margin is going to look at the net profit change from year to year times 100%. The next one is your operating expense ratio. And basically, this is the proportion of revenue spent on operating expenses, and it indicates cost management and operational efficiency. So essentially, the 4 ones that we want every business to track: your revenue growth rate, your gross profit margin, your net profit margin, and your operating expense ratio. Those are the key ones that every business should look at. And those aren't the only ones, but those are 4 of the main. And it's also important to keep in mind that there are key metrics that lenders will also calculate. So for us, you don't have to calculate these yourselves, but it's good to have an idea of what we do with the numbers you give us. So one of the most critical ones we look at is the debt service coverage ratio. Basically, it just measures the ability to service debt with operating income, indicating financial stability and risk. So just your net operating income over your total debt service. We look at the quick ratio, which is a liquidity ratio, just looking at how much of your assets you're able to liquidate in order to meet immediate needs. So basically, it just shows in the event of a cash crunch, if you're able to come up with enough cash to stay in business. And then loan to value ratio, basically comparing the loan amount to the value of the collateral, assuming there is collateral, helping to assess the risk of lending. And the ratios for lenders may differ. For us, our minimum debt service coverage ratio happens to be 1.2 times. So we just want it to be a little bit of a buffer. And so what that basically means is that you are covering the debt service 0.2 times over what you need to cover. So if you owe $100, you're able to cover it at $120. You make $120 to cover it. And so you just have a little bit of that buffer. As for loan to value, for loans that are collateralized, typically will go up to 70, 75, sometimes 80% for the loan to value. And most lenders are going to be around that as well. And so we're already kind of coming up short on time, so I'll kind of wrap this up quickly. But so for the example we see how they have put together their revenue growth, gross profit, net profit, and operating expense ratio. And we can see in the top three, we have a positive growth rate. So that in your projections, if you show the lender that you are able to sustain positivity month over month in each of these margins, and then for the last one, show how you're able to maintain a consistent operating ratio to show, again, the viability and maintainability of your business model. Yeah, so as I said, this shows, by doing this, you show strong market acceptance, the effectiveness of your production pricing strategies, that you are able to adhere to healthy financial management practices, and cost management and sustainability. These are huge factors for the lender, and things that you are definitely going to want to emphasize. And the last one, unfair advantage. So when I say unfair advantage, really, I'm wanting you to describe the unique edge your business has over competitors that cannot easily be replicated or acquired. This can include a variety of things, like proprietary technology, patents, exclusive partnerships, strong brand identity, or unique business models. So for us as lenders, what we look for, we want to see any unique advantages or barriers to entry in the industry that give your business a competitive edge. And so, again, barriers to entry. So highlight barriers to entry that protect your market position. Demonstrate how these advantages contribute to the long-term sustainability and profitability of your business, right? So with EcoBrew, we can see that this can manifest in a few different ways. It can be exclusive partnerships. So you can have partnerships with leading materials providers, which are able to provide you with compostable materials at a lower cost, right? It could be patents for different product designs. That can be a huge unfair advantage. You can have a stronger brand identity. And so this comes over time as you develop the strong brand loyalty associated with who you are as a business, right? And it resonates deeply with your target market. And this is why, again, this all ties together. This is why it's so important to clearly identify your target market, because it builds that strong brand identity. And it just perpetuates in a cycle. And being a first mover, basically, if you are an early adopter of an idea, having that initial head start can be huge, because you can capitalize on that growing market for sustainable solutions. So then basically, by having that strong unfair advantage statement, it tells a lender that you are cost efficient and you can have this consistent supply. You have protection from competitors. You can engender customer loyalty and advocacy, and you can have market leadership, right? And these are all huge things. So to kind of just wrap up overall and just bring it together, we explored how to create a compelling business plan using the Lean Canvas template, and really with the focus on what to look for when considering financing for new businesses. And so hopefully we all have a better idea of how addressing each component of the Lean Canvas, the problem, customer segments, unique value propositions, solutions, channels, revenue streams, cost structures, key metrics, and unfair advantage, we can build a comprehensive business plan that demonstrates your business's strengths and potential, right? And so hopefully now we can understand how to create a compelling business plan that can make financing an attractive proposition for lenders when you're applying. So with that out of the way, do we have any questions or
Yeah, we
comments?
do. And first, Kevin, I just want to say thank you so much for partnering with us on doing this.
Thank you.
The Arlington Community Federal Credit Union is a great resource for all small businesses in the county. One of the things, and I shout this out to everybody I meet with, is that they offer clients is free business checking account. So if you were to go to other institutions, you would be paying a fee to keep their money there. The Arlington community does not do that, and you can get free business checking. So I think that's very important. So just to reiterate, this program is being recorded. The slides will be sent out. The recording will be sent out to everybody who registered. I've gotten that coming up just multiple times. So you will get that via email, and we will send that out to you upon the conclusion of this program. I did want to bring up this one question that was in the chat. Um, and the question is, and it's a two-parter, and I'm gonna answer some of it, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you, to your thoughts, Kevin.
Yeah.
But what if you have an LLC because of a 1099 job and you're not tracking business metrics? Will this affect you later if you want to branch off into some type of business?
So,
So I'm gonna
so I'm
start and just be right.
sorry. Read the first part of the question again. Sorry, I
Oh,
didn't catch that. Sorry.
what if you have an LLC because of a 1099 job and you are not tracking business metrics? So I'm going to start with this one and say, I hope the person that wrote this, they have a separate bank account for their LLC, number one. So that there's a way to start tracking that there. The other thing you should, and I say this all the time to everybody I work with, QuickBooks, 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 and QuickBooks. Do it. Do it, do it, do it, because you are going to need those records at some point down the line. And QuickBooks will calculate a lot of these KPIs that Kevin showed you. It also makes it really easy. It integrates with your business checking account. You can easily track revenue, expenses, all the good things very simply. So that's the first part of this. But I'm curious your thoughts, Kevin, on the rest of the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is I would echo that sentiment. QuickBooks is a very easy, intuitive way to do it. We also, on credit union, we have in our online banking platform, we have tools that will actually have reports that will break that down for you. So, for instance, let's say you have your operating account with us. We actually have the ability to generate custom reports that will break down the cost structure for you to make that a little bit easier. Um, Also, look at us as a resource too. If you have the beginning stages of a business plan or you think that you might need help with a particular aspect of it, reach out to me.
Yeah.
I very often look at people's business plans. I just give advice. I give consultations on how to improve it. I help them do some of the research, and so that's something that I will make myself available to anyone. In fact, after this, I'll send all the participants an email with that opportunity if you're interested in signing up and having me take a look at your business plan, or if you haven't even started one, helping you create an outline for that.
Yeah. And BizLaunch, we offer free counseling to anybody looking to start a business in Arlington County. In fact, I dropped the link. You can schedule an appointment with us online. I dropped that link in the chat. So feel free to do that if you want to work on one-on-one on your business plan. So we have a number of different things there. The other thing, Kevin, and maybe you know this, we did have a question. Besides QuickBooks, is there any other bookkeeping software that you recommend?
Not really. QuickBooks
Yeah.
is the one I'm familiar with, really.
Yeah, that's the one that I've used in our business, our family business, and so I find that to be the best that's out there. It's also what a lot of accountants use as well, and so I find that to be the best. There are other platforms. I just don't feel that it does quite what QuickBooks can do in that range because it makes also invoicing really easily. You can create invoices as well, so that makes that really nice and track payments that way too.
Yeah, and it's what I found the feedback that I've gotten. It's just so much more intuitive.
Mm, mhm. Yeah. Well, with that, Kevin, thank you again. If does anybody have any last burning questions that they would like to ask today? Again, the program is recorded. We will send that out along with the slides, along with oh, we have a poll question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do
It's
this. Yeah.
finally a launch.
Have you ever created a business plan before? Let's see where everyone's at. So for a lot of entrepreneurs, I find the business planning process is a bit of a new process for them. And so um, it's always curious to see how we've done. Now, I'm curious too. I wonder, Because when I hear a lot of people when they say they've created a business plan, have they done the financials? That's another beast. And so that is a part of the business plan, the financial aspect. And I think if anything, that's probably the most important aspect of any business plan. Um, and so sometimes they don't always include that in their business plan that I review. So they're cool.
Ours was discussed already, but
Okay,
so
about
far,
a quorum. Yeah.
I think there's one more
Oh,
question.
so like so we got a kind of a mix. Some folks working on one, some have created one, some haven't.
Right.
So
Okay. So it looks like there's another. Sorry if it was already discussed, but could a sole proprietor register as S corp and request funding? Oh yeah, yeah. So the actual structure of the business itself is immaterial. So if it's a sole proprietor, if it's an S corp, that's absolutely fine.
yeah.
Um,
Um, and two, I think C, if you're interested in volunteering to review business plans, I would recommend. So there's a lot of, I think first, let's just set the stage with there's a lot of free resources out there to help anybody start a business in the United States of America. There's Biz Lunch here for Arlington County, but the federal government funds a lot of free resources. One of those free resources is SCORE, which is a service corps of retired executives. And they offer mentoring, one-on-one assistance, education as well. And we partner with them too. And they're always looking for volunteers who have business backgrounds, executive backgrounds, startup backgrounds, varied backgrounds to help be mentors to clients. It's a volunteer position. And if you're interested in doing that, that might be a great place to start. There's a lot of really great folks that um, have participated in that. So thank you for that question, C.
yeah, this is great. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for listening. There's a lot of information to go through. Thanks for staying with it. I look forward to part two of this. This is great.
Yes.
You guys
That's
will.
gonna be the fun part. That's gonna be the fun
That's
part
gonna
with
be
the
the fun part.
money. The money.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, perfect. So I will. All of this will be sent out to the participants, and then we will. I'll make sure. When is part two? So part two is tentatively going to be in late July, early August. We don't have a date set for it yet, but believe me, we will let you guys know as soon as it's set up. So, and I'll send an email to everyone as well, thanking them, and then feel free to respond with any questions you might have.
thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Have a good day.